Hello and welcome to Ladies of Fandom. I'm hoping we're live because I'm talking anyway. We are live. We are part of the Fanboy TV Block Party as part of the 9 o'clock hour. This is Ladies of Fandom. With me today is a special guest, but we'll get to her introduction after we roll credits. Alright, so welcome back. Today we have with us Cadence, and if I call her Candace, everybody in the studio has a right to just bop me over the head.
Like that.
Yeah, like that.
We should have brought the bop hammer.
You can put it in the name spoiler jar.
Yeah,
It's the new name spoiler jar.
Name
Yay!
spoiler.
New function.
You spoil the name.
Yeah.
Now, not just for names and spoilers, but pronouns and all of the other things.
Yay!
Yay!
Multi-purpose jar.
Multi-purposes.
Alright, so of course I've got my regular hosts with us. I've got Alice, Tessa, and Alyssa, and of course Cadence. So we're gonna go ahead and get this started. We don't have anything to catch up on today, so we're just gonna go ahead and straight into the interview. So, do we have an introduction for Cadence? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Well, this is obviously Cadence, the snow leopard. As a performer, Cadence chooses not to speak, which is totally fine. That's her choice. So I will be her interpreter or interpreter.
And I could not get into
no,
a
put it in the spoiler
Put it
jar
in the
for that
spoiler
pun.
jar.
That's
It's
terrible.
Bad. It's
Come
bad.
on.
I know,
Put
that's like,
two.
That's like
Put
a 5.
That's like a 5 right there. Come on.
Oh, I got a 10. That's really bad.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, that pun was infuriating. So there you go.
You guys.
the jar's
were-
already full.
You guys
Come
are
on.
too
haven't even, like,
adorable
started.
sometimes.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm
I'm
the
glad we
I'm
got
the
the puns
interpreter
out of the
for
way
the
now.
evening. And it is always up to the individual performer whether they choose to communicate verbally or not.
Yeah, so, let's go ahead and get started. What is a furry, for the first thing?
So, furry at a base level is just a fan of anthropomorphic animals. So that's the one thing that brings them all together.
Alright. Now, is there a difference between a furry and a fursona?
So, kind of. It's an amalgam. A fursona is an amalgam of fur and persona. So it's an idealized version of the performer or just the individual furry that usually takes the form of their favorite animal, like a snow leopard.
And so, Leslie, what's a fursuit?
So a fursuit. Da-da-da. So a fursuit's a physical costume, right? That is of one's persona. So it can be anywhere from a full body costume to something called a partial, which consists of, so usually the basic minimum partial is the hands, feet, tail, and head. Right? Yeah, okay.
I actually have one. How many furries have fursuits? How many furries are suited up?
So not every furry has a fursuit, right? So probably about 25%, give or take, of furries have fursuits.
Sorry, I thought I'd chime in because we were on fursuits.
Alright, it's fine. Do you want to show off the tail real quick?
Oh, the
I-
tail.
I've got to show
Tail.
this off.
Oh
because
my
this
gosh,
is so
this
adorable.
big floofer.
Big floofer.
Oh, jeez.
Look at that,
adorable.
right? It's
That
so fluffy.
that is ridiculous.
It is so
It's
funny.
just it's past ridiculous. It's redonkulous.
Yeah.
It's also amazingly soft.
So might I say it's not a trivial fursuit?
Come on, Tessa.
I'll be here all night.
Pun time is over.
Oh my gosh.
Pun
this
time
gonna
is
be fun.
over. We need to
But
be
we're having
serious
some
here.
real pun times here. I'm sorry.
Ah, that's terrible. No, that's a 10.
That's not.
That's
That's pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah,
like a 20 or
I'm
50.
That's like a
sorry.
10.
It's not even fur
I'm
related.
glad this isn't real money.
Just a pun pun.
We'd be broke.
We'd be broke.
We'd be funding our any of our fees from slip ups is what we'd be doing.
So I do have to point something out. There is a difference between a fursuit, from what I'm understanding, and what we as hosts are doing today. We're what's called Nekomimi, correct?
Well, kind of like that. So we have ears and tails, and, it's cute, but we're still presenting human features. It's just like the animal parts are an add-on. So it's more like Nekomimi, and Nekomimi really is basically means cat girls, but it can extend to anything, and it's usually with the ears. Ears.
Oh.
Right, what else?
Oh.
Okay. Who out of the community does where do you get the fursuits? Like, who out of this community puts these things together? Because I imagine they would be extremely expensive.
They can be, right? So Cadence told me that the average cost for a partial can be around $1,000.
Oh, Jiminy Christmas.
And a full can
Had to stop myself there. I was going to go far beyond.
$1,600 and up. But these are individual artists and makers, and they put a lot of time and effort in to all of their pieces because it is a work of art. I mean, look at this adorable face.
Yes.
I mean, also, this seems like a really ridiculous, it sounds like a really ridiculous amount of money to spend. Like, why do some furries suit up completely?
So, Cadence, why do you do it?
Yes, Cadence.
Well, Cadence does it because it's fun. And on an overarching scale, you enjoy it. It's a good time. And it lets some people who would normally be really shy kind of cut loose and be more of a character because it's the extra step.
Yeah, it's definitely like the whole liberating like cosplay
Right,
thing.
and it can be kind of the anonymity thing. And you're a character. You're a performer. You're not your everyday self.
Yeah.
So it allows an extra step.
Also, what is generally rule number 1 for suit etiquette? Because I imagine you get a lot of interaction with a lot of people. What is the one rule unbreakable?
So, so the number 1 rule, right, is consent.
It's
Get
everywhere.
the suitor's attention and ask before anything. So what might be something that people need to ask for? It's like hugs, pictures, really just anything. Like if anyone wants to touch your tail, they should definitely ask, right? Because we know you, so we can fluff. But if a stranger comes up and just grabs your tail, that's really not cool.
It's like a stranger like petting your hair,
Yeah,
your
I mean,
beard.
it's weird.
Like, whoa, what? No.
Right.
It's the same thing with any cosplay. Like if you're wearing
any
wings,
cosplay, and just like as a human or an animal, like you don't want to be grabbed randomly.
And I mean, you may have noticed earlier when I asked to see the tail, I did ask.
Right.
So I mean, hey,
It's like, may I?
Lead by example.
So what types of fursonas and fursuits are out there? What are your favorites? What are your least favorites?
So, right, there's like any kind of suit, anything.
Anything?
Cadence obviously is a fan of snow leopards, and she just said she's a huge fan of avian suits.
Avian?
Yeah, like birds.
Okay.
And I know
dragon
that
suit would
there
be
are
cool.
some really cool griffin suits out there. Funny we mentioned. But there's actually, right, dragons are super fun. But you, what do you not like? Oh, those. I know what you mean. So there's a trend, right? The latest suit fad. Yeah, just that. So it's called squeakers, squeaker furries, and some of them can be really annoying.
and we can give you a demonstration here because we actually did a lot of research for this episode.
I did a little extra. I learned a new skill for you guys.
Oh boy.
Cadence is plugging her ears. If you don't like higher pitch noises, this might be the time to
Turn it
also
down.
do the same or turn it down.
Either way, plug your
So,
ears, please.
A squeaker furry, some of them just use an actual squeaker, and this is all they do, and that's fine. But there's an extra step you can take, that you take the squeaky part out, don't swallow it.
Don't inhale it.
And then you proceed to talk with the squeaker in your mouth. There are some fun words to say, but we're not going to say them on air. That sound really adorable. And then you can purr with it too.
Oh,
and
good.
now we're done.
Cadence says no more. So Yes,
But now
that you
why.
could see is cute at first, but it could get maybe a little grating. Not every suitor does it the same. Not all of them are annoying, but it's also up to Cadence's personal taste.
Yes.
What are the fur conventions like?
So obviously there's conventions. So Cadence says they're, as compared to like your average convention that you hear about all the time, they're smaller and more personal, and they can be more hyper focused to fursuiting activities.
Okay.
And you're adorable. Not like you, just you, but they can be more hyper focused to different types of fursuits. Is that what you mean, or just fursuits? Anyway, like.
My interpreting is falling apart.
My snow leopard isn't as good as it used to be. So other than that,
practice.
I mean, it's usual convention activities. It's panels and writing, art, gaming, and everything.
So I've heard about, was it con crud? What can a fursuiter do to keep from getting sick and some...
So I think it's at any convention, but wash your hands. And there's a rule called the 6-2-1 rule. So it's 6 hours of sleep, 2 good hearty meals at least, and then 1 shower a day minimum. So always more than that is great,
Yeah.
but at a convention, as we all know, that doesn't always happen.
Any other health concerns wearing a suit? Like some of the larger ones, do they come with like fans? Like what are some of them
Some
have
do,
fans? Okay.
some do, but like a full fursuit, it's hot.
Yeah, I can
Isn't it?
imagine in Texas it's rough.
Yeah, fursuiting in
Like
Texas
Cadence,
is
I don't
for
know
the
how you
most
survive.
extreme.
I mean, it's really
No.
cold in here. I'm freezing. We turned it way down.
Freezing.
For a reason. Put another
Another
dollar in
dollar.
the jar.
Another $1.
Okay.
Anyway, so Cadence says that heat is the biggest one, but frequent breaks for drinking a lot of water are really important, and knowing your limits and not pushing yourself are the most important, because you got to take a break eventually, especially in Texas.
Yeah.
Yes, especially during the middle of summer like we are right now.
And it's hot.
So I'm going to clear up some misconceptions now that we've hit the
Oh
midpoint.
boy.
What are furries not? Because I know that there's a lot of stigma around them.
Okay. Ooh boy. Big question, right?
This one is a big one.
All right. So furries are not. They're not the hopeless shut-ins with no social life. So you've met people you would never have before without it, is what Cadence is telling me. And it's not... Oh, no. It's not that weird fetish thing that some people think. The internet may make it sound a little weird sometimes, right? But what fandom doesn't have that weird subset? And
Everything's a fetish, basically. It's that rule. What's
Right?
the rule?
34.
Rule 34. So
34.
it's there, but what of it? I mean, you're not gonna sweep it under the rug, is what Cadence is telling me. But it's not all furries, and it's not
Not all furries. Sorry.
hashtag not all furries. And it's definitely not all that furries are about. Also, hashtag don't judge.
Yes.
If people are happy and consenting adults, they can do what they want.
Yeah.
No shaming.
Yeah.
I think I'm caught up on
Oh, wait.
questions. You got anything else?
Actually, I do.
Yeah.
Proper interactions with someone in a fursuit. I imagine there's some things that are okay and some things that are not okay. General interaction etiquette,
So
other than
like
consent.
The public.
Yes.
It's like non-furries interacting. Special notes is like be respectful, right? So following up on that consent asking first. So be respectful is what we got. First and foremost, being respectful, and under all this fluffy, beautiful stuff. I mean, they're performers and they're people just like you. So and I think from our perspective, with our limited experience, we know that as hosts, we know that maybe you should keep in mind a suit doesn't always have the best visibility. So
Yeah.
especially like a small child. Yeah, you can be a little
Tunnel vision.
tunnel vision.
Yeah. So be aware of
I
the
learned
tunnel
that on
I've-
Halloween.
Yeah, I've definitely seen a small child run up to a fursuit and kind of get bowled over
vision.
because the suitor couldn't see them. So So
whacked him with the tail, knocked him over.
yeah, or just like kind of knocked him with the digitigrade knee or something. Which the digitigrade is the more animal-like legs, so it's the suit is formed to make it look like they're standing on their toes rather than plantigrade, which is how humans stand.
Okay.
Kind of like, I don't know if you can see my feet, but I'm kind of standing digitigrade right now.
Because our legs are short. We can't quite touch the floor.
He sits digitigrade.
So it's like standing on heels without the heel.
Okay.
Kind of, I think, is what it is. But the suit's usually made so they can still stand flat-footed and not.
So it's not the
hurt
weird
themselves.
stilts that make the legs kind
No,
of...
those are digitigrade stilts, and that's
Okay.
a separate thing. The suits, from what I researched with Cadence, they're actually padded to make it appear that way, but the human leg is still straight.
Oh, okay.
So it's much safer and more comfortable for the performer.
Yeah. Imagine much easier to walk into.
Right.
It's like, I'm going to break my legs to make this more realistic, and then we're going to
If
reset
that's
them.
what you want.
No.
I have seen them
Cadence
done
doesn't
without
recommend it.
stilts. I have seen them done without stilts using the anti-gravity heel that were popular.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those too. Those are usually the hoof ones. Those are pretty cool, but they don't look terribly comfortable, do they? No, I don't think so. I'd try it, but
I find a big shoe big enough for me. I was like, okay, sure, why not? Fall on my
So-
butt.
So I mean, we've talked about what suits cost. Like, where do you go to get one? So, Kane says you ask around in the community and you shop around. You want to find a maker that you really like the style of, and there are a ton of options out there, and you want to obviously look in your price range and get materials you like and all that jazz. Just, I mean, make sure it's what you want it to be. It's often a custom art piece, as we discussed before.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this face. This is so cute.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's
pretty cute.
werewolf.
What is the mask made out of?
So so full fur suits are obviously faux fur. I think the heads are usually of this style they're plastic, aren't they? Or a type of plastic. There are a few materials they can use. And keeping in mind on the visibility thing, the eyes can be have a mesh panel, so even if you have wide visibility, it's kind of muted. So it's different materials, but it's all centers around a rigid plastic type.
I've also seen, and because I do a little bit of research on my own, I've also seen them made out of what can essentially be the latex foam and the
Right.
soft foams, just shaved and shaped into the
Seen some of
bulkier
those, yeah.
heads. Those are extremely warm.
Yeah, it sounds like it, because that's an insulator.
Those do require some sort of ventilation, or one of the things that I've seen people follow are the if you're familiar with the ice bars, you're in there for 45 minutes and out for 15
Yeah.
as a waitress or a worker.
Pretty much.
So that's
It's,
another guideline to follow
Yeah.
for health.
And that falls into knowing your limits and taking breaks, because overheating, bad. Especially in Texas, you cannot come back from that sometimes. You're out for the day. So, Cadence knows.
Not wearing anything but a bathing suit, I've done that to myself. It's not fun.
Right?
I'm gone for 2 days.
Even in
afterwards.
Texas, in minimal clothes, it's easy to do. So wearing this style is the kigurumi style, right? There we go. I got it. I remembered the word I forgot. Brushing up on my snow leopard language.
Brushing? Sorry. Put $1. No regrets.
I wish this were my income.
Right?
Like, ooh.
This is what we get paid at the end of the show.
We get paid in puns.
But that encourages
you
us
get.
to be bad. That's a horrible decision. Let's not do
Let's
that.
not do that.
I mean, it can add entertainment for the show, so pun away.
So you'll have bun till Daddy takes your T-bird away? Sorry.
Oh my
Thanks.
gosh. Speaking of kigurumis,
What?
we have a different kigurumi style.
so this
coming
is a
in.
different style that's the more casual. Get over here.
Get over here.
Get over here!
So this is a different style. So this is kigurumi suiting, and this is the Kigurumi onesie pajamas.
Hello!
Get down here.
Here we go.
Kiko pajamas are adorable.
Kiko pajamas are adorable.
Yes.
I have some. They're super warm. They're super awesome. I've seen
they're
some
super
suitors
comfy.
wear Kigurumi over
Oh,
their
here, I'll show you
Kigurumi.
guys.
It's so cute.
Ta-da.
It's like a Russian
Da-da-da.
stacking
Oh, you
doll.
have a tail. All right.
Oh my gosh, you have a
Yeah.
Charmander tail.
This is actually my first Kigurumi to ever wear, and it's amazing. I love it.
Aww.
Aw.
They're great.
You'll be
Oh,
I have
Jeffrey,
I
you
have
look
a-
adorable.
I have a lemur one on order right now.
Yes.
Awesome.
I get it in 6 weeks. So
Yay.
all right,
Amazing.
ladies and fans, relax. I gotta
Yes.
get ready for our next show.
Go.
Woo!
Go.
Get ready.
Go, go, go. Don't set
Go,
anything on fire.
All right.
Alright.
Total derail.
Wow.
But Kigurumi, good timing.
Derail, but still on topic. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm putting one in for you. I'm putting two. Whatever this much is, I can't count right now.
I think we're just
Bunnies
gonna
can't count. Who knew?
re-
I mean, we only have a short attention span.
That's true.
That actually brings up a question mainly for you two.
Oh no.
What?
What are some of the worst misconceptions?
So
that you wish would
besides
go away?
besides what Cadence talked about, Cadence was telling me that there's some stereotypes in the furry community, aren't there? That especially for foxes and bunnies, that they can be a little
Sex, 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 sex,
hyperactive.
sex,
Okay, or that,
Promiscuous.
Promiscuous.
or yeah,
Yeah, that
that's I think the nicest way to put it. So of course that's not true of every fox or bunny, but that's definitely the
Running
very
misconception.
poor
One track mind.
misconception about them, because yeah, there's stereotypes in every community,
Yeah.
but we're us, like, you know us. We're good. We're good foxes and bunnies.
Yeah.
Not that being promiscuous is bad if that's what you want, and consenting adults and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Hey, as long as it's consenting, I'm fine with it.
And adults or age of majority. That's a legal
Yeah,
matter.
I mean, yeah, that's a thing.
Like, that's important.
Please, God, please,
Yeah.
please.
Just make sure on all fronts. That may have been a bad choice of words, but we're moving on.
Courtney, just nope. You can't. I can't. This is our worst jar ever.
Yep.
I
Or
think
best,
it's
how you want to look at
I
it.
think it's gonna be our best. Any last questions before
So I think
we bring it down?
well, like what with new furries or suitors or anything, how do they get a start in the community? Well, you get out there.
Yeah.
So
beat me to the
you reach
punch.
out and see if there's a local community. Is there any way particular you would recommend they do that? Oh yeah, there's a good one. So Cadence says there's a phone app called Telegram. That's a great chat program. That there's most cities have a local group, right? Austin has one. So
Nice.
Telegram, Austin group, you will find it, I'm sure.
We can also. I'm gonna go ahead and plug the Facebook real quick because I know where to
Yes,
find you.
absolutely.
In my slides down there, you see Facebook at Cadence Mew Mew. It just switched, so I'll post
So
that
it's
up.
Cadence the Snow Leopard at Cadence Mew Mew on Facebook. It's the most adorable page you'll ever follow. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. Now, closing up, we've got the Facebook, we've got the resources down. Any last comments before I shout out to the next time?
I'm bereft of puns right now, I think. I don't think
I
I,
think
got any
you've
more.
used up
we're
your
out
pun
of
ability.
them.
She's gonna have to clean that up.
I know.
That's
Again,
All right. So not next week, week after next, as part of the Fanboy TV Block Party, we are doing sci-fi tropes. We're kind of revisiting the fantasy thing, but focusing more on the sci-fi part and
maybe
everything.
even
And will you quit Miyagiing the fur?
There's so much fur.
It's
just
flying
sitting around.
everywhere.
the fur is flying.
And the
Is that
Yeah.
that's pretty jar worthy.
Do
I'm
it.
sorry.
Put it in the jar.
At least it was relevant
it was relevant
this time.
Um,
Sorry.
But we are going to be doing sci-fi tropes. You can see that there. Stay tuned. Combat Creations is coming right up after this. Next week is going to be behind the costume in this time slot, so you won't see my pretty face or the other pretty faces, but you will see other pretty faces that aren't mine or theirs.
Nice that you let him know. Be like, all right, yes.
Everyone's pretty.
Everyone
okay?
and then tune in after Comic Creations for Zombie Life TV, where you will see at least one of these faces.
oh God.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But with that, I bid you all good night. Bye. Stay tuned.